everyone's like, we're passionate or something. I'm like, what does passionate actually mean to you? What does it mean to your business? What does it mean to your long-term business plan?
Welcome to the Digital Hive Podcast, where we talk all things digital marketing for small businesses. On this episode, I spoke with Rachel Rennie, the founder and creative director of Frankly Right, a brand and copy strategy studio building a business out of dad jokes and puns. They develop creative brand personalities, incorporate marketing psychology, add data-driven copy strategy, and end it all by creating copy that sticks in your head and makes sales. I hope you enjoy listening to this chat about brand voice, authenticity, and communicating the full range of your brand. Welcome to the podcast, Rachel. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
To get us started, tell us about you and your business.
Okay, so I run Frankly Right, which is a brand and copy strategy studio. I am in we're in our third or fourth year of business, and we've just transitioned from just me to a studio, like I said, where it's me plus a team of really talented people. So that's where we're at the moment. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty fun.
Awesome. So how did you land on your actual current offering? Did you go through a process of coming to this, or how have you kind of figured that out over the years?
Well, I started writing $50 blogs, which I think so many people do, and just being like completely overwhelmed that people would pay me to write. I do have a degree in media arts and communications, and I majored in PR and advertising. So it was something that was in me, but I decided to become a teacher instead for some godforsaken reason. So I did $50 blogs, gradually started going, hey, I know all this marketing stuff. I know about audiences and I know about branding, and bringing that more in. And then I got pregnant and needed to structure the business in a way that fit around children a lot more. And so I started working with a business coach, and then it went from there in the sense that, hey, you can actually get paid not only to write, but to help businesses brand themselves and market themselves. And I have all this knowledge, so why not use it? And here we are, brand and copy strategy.
Amazing. So just for people who sometimes there's a different definition of brand, and brand strategy. So maybe define that for us as to how, you look at that.
So we focus on brand voice strategy. However, because of our background and the skill of me and the team, we understand how branding fits into the entire digital sphere. So we have quite a holistic approach to it. So we focus on helping businesses to work from their values to their messaging. So how do you sound online? What words do you use? What messaging do you use? And all of that is branded and should be branded exactly the same as how you think of logo and colors. So you've got your visual branding, and then you've got your message branding. And we focus on this side, message branding.
Perfect. So how do businesses use their brand voice once they define it? How does that kind of work into their business after they've gone through the process with you?
Yeah.
How do they actually do it?
Everywhere. They use it everywhere. So part of our brand voice strategy is sorry, I feel like I'm sounding too salesy, Bawa. Part of our brand voice strategy is we give we give you an action plan, and we give you a content strategy, and all of that is aimed to launch your brand voice into the world. So we essentially are telling you across all your touch points how you can brand yourself. And then obviously we love when people come back to us and they're like, can you do it for us? And we're like, absolutely, because we're also copywriting strategists. So we understand how to put it into your copy and help you make sales. Sorry. Yes, so ideally they would come back to us. But essentially they use it everywhere. So any time you need to write about your business, it should have brand voice strategy behind it. So if you think about that all the way from sending an email internally, if you've got a larger team, to sending an email to a client, to social media, to print as well. So we've been working with a few businesses on print lately as well, which is exciting. Packaging, product packaging, everything.
Perfect. I mean, it's pretty much where any written or even verbal content is, really, and it's just that strategy that's like behind everything. Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So what actually makes up a brand voice strategy once you put it down on paper?
Okay. So we start with values. That's the key component. We also look at how those values turn into behaviors, because everyone's like, we're passionate or something. I'm like, what does passionate actually mean to you? What does it mean to your business? What does it mean to your long-term business plan? So we turn your values, we give them really good descriptions for what they mean to you and your business, and then we turn them into brand behaviors. So you'll actually get like a nice big strategy document that goes, these are your values, this is what it means to you. These are your brand behaviors, this is how you show your values online. Then we turn those brand behaviors into your voice. And the little metaphor I like to use is kind of like, if you're walking into a party, your brand behaviors are your personality. So that's like your core. And then obviously your brand voice is how you sound when you start talking. So that's how your personality comes out. Then we look at things like tone, because if your voice is always pretty much the same, because it's based on your personality and your values, your tone is just going to change depending on different places and who you're talking to and all that kind of stuff. So then we define it by tone. We do a lot of the same things that visual brand strategists do. So we determine, it used to be how feminine and masculine you are, but we go with delicate and strength or something like that. How informal and formal you are, all of that kind of stuff. Then we put it all into some really practical tools. So what does a word bank look like? What do copy hooks look like? What kind of buttons should you have for your UX copy, your little bits? What kind of copy hooks can you have? What's your tagline? What's your social media caption? All of that kind of stuff gets developed as well. And then, like I said, we do a content strategy as well. This is all in a brand voice strategy. So it's huge because it's essentially helping you launch your business in a way that finds you the right people. So then we do a content strategy as well. So we help people figure out what their hero piece of content is. And then we develop social media prompts to help you launch it, essentially, and start feeling comfortable doing it. So it's a massive thing. But it obviously gets huge results. It's exactly the same as investing with a really good designer who's going to design your whole visual aspect.
Yeah. And especially with online business, like you have to write in so many different places. Like essentially, even like this, like certain amount of it was planned ahead. Some of it is like you want, when you talk on a podcast, to sound like how your website sounds like. Like it all comes together in such a way of like, even like product descriptions for e-commerce, like all of that has to be written and it all needs to sound like the business. And so every day business owners are sitting down to write something, and I know what I was like before was kind of like, where do I even start? Like I know what I'm trying to say, but how am I going to deliver this? How am I going to make sure it's consistent? And there's almost like a weight on you of like, how am I going to do this?
The big words that we get back that I don't like using, which is stupid because it's just me being fussy and going, they're too cliche. I'm not going to write that in my messaging because I'm an arrogant writer. But the big words that we always get back are clarity. So people feel really clear about that they're heading in the right direction with their messaging, because we do so much value and business plan based work in our strategy sessions. So people always say this is amazing clarity. they always feel really confident. So they're like, my goodness, like I can write now. Like I feel okay doing what I thought I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure that it was the right thing. And clarity, confidence, and there's one more that people always say, and I'm really like fussy about using it. I can't remember. Just pick a generic word. Empowered, passionate, I don't know. One of those things that I wouldn't want to use. But it just makes people feel really good about their brand and their writing.
Yeah. I think too, like, whenever I get to that point where I'm like, oh, I don't know how to write this, everything comes to a halt. Like, it takes me 3 hours to write something that should have taken 20 minutes. Like, it's overcomplicated when you don't have that starting point, that list of things to go back to. Like, the word bank is super helpful to me because it's really helped me to define, like, what I don't say. Like, there are certain words that, I mean, some people say you should explain everything so that a 7-year-old should understand it. But there's a certain point, especially what I do, where I'm like, no 7-year-old has a business. Like, unfortunately, I do need to explain things to people, assuming they have a business and that they understand how business, like money in, money out. I mean, I've spoken to a couple 7-year-olds in terms of like how income works and how money works. It's pretty limited. So, like, I'm not quite simplifying it to that point. Yeah.
You go to work and you get a job and you get money. I'm going to be a doctor or a vet. Like 7-year-olds know nothing.
No, they don't even understand like 40 hours or anything. It's like,
I think a lot of people that we've worked with as well, they lean back on their brand voice strategy. Because it really is, it's like a brand strategy. It's just we then start narrowing it down into messaging. But if you're feeling stuck, you can go back to like your rules, because we do like rules, do this, don't do that, all that kind of stuff. So you can go back to your rules, or you can go back to your word bank, or you can go back to, I mean, I also missed this out. It's such a huge freaking thing. And I don't think bigger is necessarily better. It's just we want this to be really actionable. So yeah, people can go back to their target audience persona, which is also in it, and go, hang on a minute, what am I actually solving? What are they asking? And you can create, it just gives that like, oh, I can create some content on that, and I'll go to my word bank and I'll make it sound like this. And consistency. I think that was the other word I was trying to say before. Clarity, yeah, whatever. Yeah, but consistency. There's that ability to be consistent in your branding, which is obviously so important.
yeah, for sure. I think too, along that consistency line, it's like, I know I need to sound maybe slightly like different on LinkedIn versus TikTok, obviously, because the content, like if I was talking on TikTok the way that I talked on LinkedIn, like, sure, you can make LinkedIn fun, but like it just doesn't quite work. And in a way where any person is multifaceted, you want to have that still consistency as you're delivering content. So it's kind of like the different parts of your brand personality for the different contexts, but ultimately like those rules and things like that are firm no matter where you are.
100%.
Just like it doesn't really matter what party you're at, whether you're at like your grandma's 80th or your like friend's 21st, like you're still the same person, but there is like some commonality there in terms of certain things.
You'll adjust. And that's why we look at things like tone and who you're talking to and what you're saying, because it's going to change, but your personality won't change. Your values don't change. Your voice doesn't change. It's just how you apply it changes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting, like so many different people have different perspectives on how branding works and all these things. But like the thing that I have seen everywhere, no matter what people think a brand includes, is that there has to be a target audience. And that it has to be, there's the business and there's the target audience. And those are the two things that like no matter what are in there. Whether it's visual branding, packaging, design, like all of those kind of things, people still have to come back to who is the person that I'm talking to and who am I, essentially.
The two things have to meet. And that's what your brand is. Your brand spits out at the end. It's like, here's me, my business, my values. Here's the audience that I know will help make me sales, because that's the other thing I find I don't know, frustrating in the branding and marketing world, is it's like, you're in business to make money, you ding dong. Like, it's okay to talk about making sales and who is the person that's going to buy my stuff. So that's why we look at, we look at things like pain points. We call them customer needs, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't like focusing on pain points, and they call them pleasure points instead. But that's what you do, is you figure out their pain, their need, then you decide how you're going to help that. And it's the same thing. It's just language that people are using at the moment. And I'm like, come on, we're here to make money. Like, that is an okay thing.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, unless you're running a charity, and then it's different, but charities still need to make donations. Like, we've done brand voice strategies for charities. They need money. Like, this is this is the thing. So this is all about making you more money, but making it in a way that does feel good to you, and making it, especially if you're a service, making it with people who make you feel good. And if you're a product-based business, it's about making money with people who are going to be your, like, automatic brand ambassadors, because they're telling everybody about it. And then you make more money. It's all about money.
It's just the world we live in. And also I feel like there's a certain thing of like, there's good money and bad money. There's happy money and sad money. As much as, like, sure, you don't want to dwell on those pain points for forever, people do still need to understand that you actually know where they're at, because if you didn't, how are you going to serve them? So there's the thing of, like, you don't want your whole website to be about the pain points, but you've still got to, like, recognize them and understand them.
No, they are. That's the thing, and that's where the copy strategy comes into play, because you know their pain points, but you're not wording it in a way that makes them feel bad about themselves. You focus on what you deliver. So if you focus on what you actually deliver, it automatically triggers the I do have that need thing. And you can do it in a way that's not negative and not mean, and that's really important to us as well. It's a big part of Frankly Right. However, pain points and customer needs still exist. And that's why you've got a business in the first place, because you've seen a need and you're filling it. So to not recognize that, it doesn't make any sense to me. I just feel like sometimes ethical marketing goes too far. I'm laughing because I'm like, it's kind of a slightly controversial statement, but I think I've even put it on socials. It's like, it's okay to make money, guys. It's fine. So yeah, that's what a brand and copy strategy does. It helps you make sales. It's a great thing.
And it's funny because making money and, like, ethical marketing I find really interesting too, because it's like nobody's quite like, just maybe not nobody. Somebody's setting out to make, like, Jeff Bezos amounts of money. But, like, generally in business, we're just wanting to have that, like, fair exchange. And so that brand voice really just helps to explain that, helps to explain how people will feel afterwards. And if they identify with that afterwards feeling that, like, I hope I'm in that space, then perfect.
Yeah, and we don't focus on negative feelings, like, at all. We don't want to make people feel scared or bad. We want them to focus on the good outcome at the end. So, like, we've been working with some skincare brands recently. We don't want people to be like, oh, I'm getting old and I've got wrinkles. It's more about, like, do you want to just, like, feel really good looking at your face in the bathroom? Do you want to start loving the skin that you're in? Like, that very stereotypical kind of thing. But yeah, you don't want to focus on, like, aging. And it's again controversial, but it can be kind of stink to look at your face and go, I've got wrinkles, I'm getting old. You don't want that negative emotion. So branding from a messaging point of view also helps to trigger those positive emotions rather than dwell on the negative.
Yeah, and not creating a problem so that you can solve it. Like, not guilting people into something just so that you can sell your thing that shouldn't really serve a purpose. Like, most people whose business they've started has because they've identified a need in the market that hopefully they didn't create themselves. Yeah, it's totally perfect. Yeah, and it's that thing of it bridges the gap in between you and that other person in a way that's consistent, because a lot of people will check you out on multiple places. Like, they'll check out your website, then they'll go to maybe Instagram for, like, some social proof, figure out you have some followers, Are people commenting on your posts? All of that kind of stuff. And as much as they don't do it like, I'm going to do a full private investigator, like look around, it's just that they want to, after a certain amount of time, feel like they start to know the brand. And if you didn't have that consistency,
people get confused and they're going to go somewhere that always looks the same. It's the same with it. It's honestly just so similar to logos and colors. It would be like finding, it would be like finding someone on social media who had like a certain logo as their profile picture and they talked in a certain way, and then you jump on their website and all of a sudden it's different colors and a different logo and the language has suddenly become 10 times more professional, and you're like, what, am I in the same, is this the same person? And then people make split second decisions to exit out of your website. And I mean, that's where most sales are happening, are on websites. So you want to drive them there, and then you just want to be like, hey, we're here and we're actually better here. Like, here's the real goods. And then people will click through and contact you, make a booking, make a buy.
yeah, like sticking around and all that good stuff. Yeah. So a lot of that is business values and personal values, and often a way of setting yourself apart as a business from different people in the market is to inject your own personality into it. Um, and along with that comes the big word of authenticity. So how does authenticity come into play within a brand voice?
So I think because we deal with the founders or the owners, because that's the way that small businesses start. Like all businesses start with a person who's got a dream and a vision. So that's why we look at values, obviously, because then it can be like, what actually matters to you? And then we look at the business plan as well. So like, where do you want to be in 3 or 5 years? And it doesn't have to be all of you. It doesn't have to be your complete self. It just needs to be a part of you that you can tap into that's branded. And then it will be authentic because it's come from the person at the top. It gets a little bit different for product-based businesses because it's not so personal. However, everyone who's created a product has created it for a reason. But you can also have a bit of fun there. You can create a personality, which is what we do often for products, is you create something, and that's based on whether the person who owns the e-com business, do they want to have fun? Do they want to come across really seriously? Like, what do they actually want from their business? And then we developed a brand strategy or a voice that suits them. So it's always authentic because it always just comes from the heart and from the soul and from the person, I guess, in the middle of everything.
Mm. And then going back to consistency, I guess there's a thing there of like, sometimes it gets to a point where a different member of the staff of the business is the one writing that content. And I mean, it gives them so much of a starting point, but it allows them to kind of engage in that mindset. If they review the brand voice before they write new content, say they're writing a blog post or something like that, helping them there, I can only imagine that is like, I mean, hopefully people have similar brand values to the business that they work for so that they feel like they're living that aligned life. But to a point, everyone is different. And coming back into that can be really helpful as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and also copywriters. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that every business at that point of growth should have a copywriter that they go to all the time for everything, because we don't know how to do it better. It's like, I'm going to design something on Canva versus I'm going to get a designer to create this for me. But a copywriter isn't living and breathing your values. They might have similar values, but they're not the person who created the business. And so this is a way that you can get people to write. You can outsource, you can give it to your VA, you can give it to the junior, person who's just come in, and you're going to flick them social media or whatever. they can take this and they can write, and it can feel like you, and it can feel really good, or it can feel like the values of the business as well. Because obviously it's not always just one person who starts a business, there's multiple, but they've come together with some joint ideas and some joint values.
If you're listening to this episode and wondering how you can market your own business, I might just have the solution for you. The Marketing Apiary is the one-stop shop course for digital marketing, teaching you everything you need to know to be seen, make sales, and grow your business online. With videos across honing your vulnerability, putting your best foot forward, getting the numbers straight, helping people find you, content marketing, growing with advertising, and passing the torch to your team, we cover every platform and angle you can approach marketing through a process I call the 7 stages of sweet marketing. Since DIYing everything alone and molding everything for your business can bring up a lot of questions and maybe some decision fatigue, we have Q&A calls every 2 weeks so you can submit your questions and receive answers customized for your business from me, even if you can't attend those calls live. To find out more, you can pause the episode and go to themarketingapiary.com or find the link in the show notes once you're done listening. For now, let's get back to the episode. So sometimes business owners go away and they create themselves, the content themselves afterwards, and sometimes they work with you. How does that process work after you've done the brand voice? What happens after? Do they just tell you what they need?
Yeah, basically. So a lot of copywriters work the same. So we have Frankly Right VIPs. So once you've had either a messaging guide, so a messaging guide is a brand voice strategy, but without the tools. So it's more just your branding, it's just your values and your audience persona, and it's still incredibly helpful. It's still, you can still give it to a copywriter and they can, create, but you're not giving them the actual tools. You're not giving them the actual phrasing and the words to use. But yeah, we're Frankly Right VIPs, and if they've had a messaging guide or a brand voice strategy, they essentially can come back to us at any time. They get pushed to the top of the queue, and we can create for them. And it's really easy because we're already living and breathing your brand. They usually go on an hourly, unless it's a big project, in which case we sort like a project rate, but it gives people the option to just go I need a sales page. And I don't like to focus on time because we know that good copy sometimes takes longer. It all depends on the creative process, but we do tend to be able to push out that copy at a fast rate because we know the brand so well and because we've got something to go off. Yeah, so it's incredibly helpful for writing copy. I'm talking you can get a long form landing page up in less than 8 hours, and that's something that's going to make you thousands and thousands of dollars worth of money, and you only have to pay someone under $2,000 to get it done. And it's something that's evergreen. So once you've got that branding done, creating the content afterwards is a breeze. It's so simple.
Yeah, totally. That makes total sense. I like that though, that it's not, we've given you the tools, now go figure it out. If business owners don't want to write that content, they just keep working with you.
Yeah, so that's why we do 2 options at Frankly Right. So you can either just get started with a messaging guide, which again, you still get the clarity and the confidence with the same strategy session. It's all the same. And it does give you a really good document, but that brand voice strategy takes it one step further. If you want to make sure that everything's going to be extra consistent, if you need the tools, or even if you do want to go and write it yourself, you've got the ability to, and you've got something in your hand that can help kickstart it, as opposed to just being now what? I'm not a writer. What do I do? You've got some writing tools in there and some creative writing tools in there to help you do it.
Yeah, perfect. And then you do have your course option. So sometimes business owners can DIY with some support their own brand voice. So when would you recommend that over working with you one-on-one?
It's honestly, it's just a matter of how long you've been in business and what your budget for marketing is. So I do say the course is really good for startups because it's, under $1,000 and you're getting a full brand voice strategy. You just have to do the work yourself, but you've got this guidance to go through. And saying that though, we have some startups who come to us and they're like, give me everything, give me web copy, give me brand voice strategy. So it's really just like, how much money do you have? What's your budget for this? And then we can point you to really A, B, or C, the course, the messaging guide, or a brand voice strategy. And it also depends how creative you are, how you feel about your writing, how confident you are in your writing, whether you want to do a course or whether you're like, can someone just do it for me? I'm going to prioritize this budget-wise because I just don't want to do it. I think I've had a few copywriters go through the course, and I've also worked with quite a few designers one-on-one who understand branding, but it's just like, I just need outside perspective, or I just need someone to like force me through the process in terms of the course so that I can just do it for myself and get it done. So copywriters are great writers, but maybe they don't have the branding knowledge, just swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, I find that too. Sometimes it's just good to go through a process and get out of my own head.
100%. I've had Frankly Right, Advertisers Factor Loss. Frankly Right had their brand strategy done with Holly from Maker and Moxie, previously Black and White Studios. She's fantastic. And so she comes from a visual side. She's a visual, that was her background, was visual brand strategy. Very similar process to Frankly Right, similar-ish document at the end. But we needed outside perspective. You can't look at your own brand the same way that someone else can. And Holly's fantastic. She's really good for creative businesses. So that's what I wanted to hold at the core of Frankly Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pay you to help guide me through it for myself. And look at different things. Like, hey, actually, you're really passionate about this. Why are you not doing this? Hey, actually, you're really good at this. Let's push that in your branding. So that's why you go for a brand strategist as well, because they're just going to look at things differently. You can't see the forest for the trees. It's a saying for a reason.
Yeah.
It's the same with business.
Yeah, for sure. And there's that thing of like, when someone else almost like validates the thing you were thinking of like, is this lame? And then they're like, no, it is definitely not lame. I really like that. Let's look for some proof that's not just me. Like it just brings it into perspective for you. And then the next time you go to do that thing, it's like, this is, Frankly Right approved content.
Yeah, it's just a little push. And I know when Frankly Right, we came up with our tagline, Kind of Funny Writers. And I was so nervous about stepping into it, but that's a lot of the feedback we get. Everyone's like, that's funny, or this made me laugh. And I'm like, I'm not a comedian, but we're kind of funny. That's the joke. We're not going to make you laugh out loud. We're just going to make you go, but when I needed that push, I talked to the team. I was like, guys, I've got a tagline. I think it sits really well. I even did an Instagram post about it and showed the conversation between me and Emily, who's our senior writer. And she was like, you just need the Frankly Right girls to come and tell you that that's a good fucking idea. So it's that push. It's like, yeah, you can do it. It's fine. It's really good, actually. Just lean into it. It's that support. Which, again, that's a word that I don't like. This is my own issue. I'm like, we're not coaches. We don't want to support anyone. Oh, yuck. We're not handholders. We're just creatives. But so many people come away from the brand strategy saying, like the strategy session, going, oh, I just feel like I have permission now to do what I wanted to do. But we can also see that it's going to have a positive flow-on effect in the fact that there's strategy now and it's going to help us make sales. So that sense of permission is massive.
Yeah. I think there's one part that we didn't talk about that I really enjoyed, which is like a funny thing to enjoy, but it was the competitor part where we went through that and it was kind of like, oh, wait, hang on a minute. There is some things that I really should be getting across here, in that this is like the honeypot digital approach to things. But then there's a certain point of competitor where you don't want to like dwell or look too much. So there's like a staying in your own lane bit, and I liked the like the amount of time essentially that was spent on it, and then it was kind of like, cool, that's done.
Move on now. Yeah, you've got to know what everyone else is offering in order to know where you can set yourself apart. So, but you can't dwell on it, because then you get imposter syndrome and then you start feeling like you're copying ideas, even though you're not. It's just you're in the same industry and you're doing the same thing. So, I mean, frankly, right, there's a number of brand strategists and copy strategists that we look at. But the technique, if you're going through a brand strategy, you look at them, you name them, you look at everything they're offering, you make sure you are offering the same with differentiators. And I know for Frankly Right, there are some, I don't have them on my feed, I don't have them on my Insta feed, I don't look at them, but when we need to do some competitor research, off we go, and we know who they are, and we look maybe once every like quarter, just to make sure that we're still sitting in the ballpark, and to really focus on what our point of difference is, and to feel good about our point of difference, and to realize what we need to push. So yeah, look at them, figure it out, and then move on. A lot of people say to me, I don't have any competitors. Community over competition. I'm like, yeah, but you've still got competitors, mate. Like, you've still got people who your buyer, or or your customer or your client is going to look at and go, okay, I'm choosing them or them. Who's it going to be? So to say, yeah, community over competition, that's a completely different ballpark to being like, I've got some competitors in my industry that I need to know about. Yeah, again, making sales, making money, it's okay. It's part of business.
Yeah. I think too with marketing, and especially because like Honeypot Digital, we work across essentially the full landscape of digital, rather than just like I only do Instagram or whatever. I have so many friends who are in marketing, but I know that I can look at their business, and there's some of these people I talk to like on a bi-weekly basis. Like we're very in each other's businesses, knowing what we're doing, and still we all know that we don't actually offer the same thing. The process is different, the end result is different, who we're best suited for is different, what their mindset is at the start is very different. But when it all boils down to it, when someone's deciding to pick a marketer, they're not going to work with four of us. So there is a point where someone has to decide. So technically, they're competition. It's not like you're setting out to be like, I'm going to step over that person and yoink that client out from underneath them. But it's just, how can I serve people differently, so that, because essentially if there's 3 marketing people in a room and they all serve people differently, one of the people that walks into that room they're only going to identify with one or none of those businesses. And so if you don't get into doing something different, there could actually be a person in the market that's actually left without an option, because you've kind of like kept it to yourself.
Yeah, you have to tell people why you're different, because you're going to help that person essentially. It's the whole like, I don't want to sell myself. And it's like, why not? You're doing your audience a favor by selling yourself and telling people what you offer and how you can help. And this is how much it costs. Because you're doing them a favor. You're telling them so you can fill a need and help them. And if it comes down to you and someone else, you need to say, we are really good at this. Is that what you need? Or we can offer you this. Is this what you need? And then sometimes your point of difference or your brand discriminators is purely your values as a business. That's fine too. It might be your value is different, or it might be your approach is slightly different. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just about making a connection with your ideal client or your ideal customer.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. And essentially, too, across all the different things that you offer, the end result is kind of the same. Like with the messaging, it's more around you creating the content. Then the brand voice strategy is they go away and write some of the content. Potentially, they still come back to you to write certain things. And then with the DIY, they're doing the work of creating the brand voice, but essentially they walk away with a brand voice. And in a way, there's 3 different offerings there for 3 different types of people, but the core is the same. And the core is what makes you frankly right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our take on a brand voice strategy, and it's something that we've developed, which is different. And there are other brand things out there, and we're like, yeah, that's fine. But it's also our approach. It's like how you feel when the email lands in your inbox, how you feel when we guide you through it. We're very like no nonsense, keep it simple, be creative, lean into your weirdness, lean into your funny bit, your funny bone, whatever. We really encourage that. And I know, like, for example, there are other branding courses out there that are like, let's really focus on ethics, and let's really focus on your values. And it's like, yeah, we do that, but also we do it in a way that's just a little bit different because it's frankly right. We're going to land in your inbox differently.
Yeah, totally. And it's just a way of like, although there's a whole bunch of different options out there, people are going to identify with one. And if you're open and honest about who you are and who you serve and how you serve them, the people who identify with you will be a good fit. Like you just enjoy working with them more, or you'll enjoy seeing their photos more of your product. Like,
yeah, and that's what we know as it's frankly right. The more that we're walking, talking advertisements for what we do, because the more that we've leaned into who we are, the more people are coming to us where we're like, who we love, who we're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest client ever. And it's scary. It's scary to lean into it. It was scary to make our tagline kind of funny writers. It was scary for us to realize that we liked working with products more than services, because we'd worked with services from day dot. But the more we lean into it, the more product people come to us, and the more people who want a little bit of weirdness come to us. And then we can shine, because that's our talent. That's what we're good at.
yeah, perfect. So if people are kind of trying to figure out if they need a brand voice strategy, maybe they've gone through a process that's slightly similar, like some of the points sound like they're kind of the same. How would you say that a business owner should decide if this is something they need to work on?
Oh, I think if you're struggling to write, if you're writing all your own content, and many of us are, that's just a reality. And if it's not coming out the way that you want it to sound, because you just are like, whether you're being too generic or you're scared to do something, so you're like, can I do this? Or whether you're writing and going, I have no idea if this is hitting what it needs to hit. That's when you need a brand voice strategy, because that's when we can provide all that clarity and the confidence for you to either go and do it yourself, or to know that strategy lies behind everything. And that's why we're branding copy strategists. We look at, yes, your values, lovely things, all nice, but we also look at data. Like, we look at data. We look at your Google Analytics. We set you up goals in there. We make sure that the copy that you're creating or that we're creating is actually converting. So that's the strategy side of it. It's like, yeah, come on, but are you making sales? So that's the other point, is if you're not making sales and you know you've got a really good product and it's just for some reason not making sales, or you've got a good service, that's when it's time to nail your messaging.
Perfect. So let's move into the quickfire round.
Oh, fun.
So, I mean, longer explanations are welcome. Sometimes you need to explain yourself. It's all good. So where do you get the most of your website traffic from?
We get it from Instagram at the moment. However, we've got a strategy in place at the moment where we are moving that away. So we are finally looking at Frankly Right. This is because I have a team now, so we've got the bandwidth, where we're going to put in place what we do for our clients, for ourselves. And we're looking at Google traffic. So we're looking at our SEO, and then we're also looking at our EDM, our email marketing. So that's the goal. And I think that's really important because I'm like, yeah, we get it from Instagram. Great. But like, we all know Instagram's not reliable. So it's changing. It's in the process of changing. And I think that's really important for people to not rely on socials for their traffic.
Yeah, totally. That makes total sense. So what is your favorite place on the internet right now?
Oh, I read this question when you sent it through. My first reaction was, I fucking hate the internet.
I have had a few of those answers.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to put. However, it is my TikTok algorithm because God, I bloody love that algorithm. So I will sit on TikTok. It's fucking great. I mean, who came up with that algorithm is insanely talented and insanely intelligent, because I get on TikTok and it makes me feel so good. It is such a lovely place. It's full of like hot Canadian men like chopping wood. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm not complaining. Scroll, scroll, scroll.
Yeah. It's that thing. I mean, people are like, oh, I hate the algorithm. And then I'm like, yeah, but it works in your favor so often. Like when it actually works, it gives you all the content you love. And also you are, as a human, you're in charge of what you see. Like if you follow people that you don't like, unfollow them. Duh.
I mean, obviously, I tend to linger on hot Canadian men chopping wood, and that's fine. There's also cooking videos in there. There's really nice cooking videos, and there's stuff about working, with a neurodiverse brain and all that kind of stuff. So it's tailored for me, and I love it. Like, go the algorithm. It's great.
Yeah, true. I guess too. I mean, this is becoming not a quick fire comment, but like if you look at their data, like that's how TikTok created that algorithm, was data. If you could create that better for like your own people on your website, imagine what you could do. I mean, scale's not quite there, but
Oh, I know. I would love to get into some dream client. Me and Emily, so she's senior writer and brand strategist, but we always talk about when we're building out these target audience personas, if we could spend 5 minutes in their TikTok algorithm, that's us. We could build it out. It just tells so much about a person.
That's so true. I like that. So what are you most looking forward to in the next year of business?
Oh, just stepping into my new role. It's like I'm just teetering on the edge of CEO, but I'm not there yet because I've got some things to work through. I don't know. It's stepping into my new role and just watching Frankly Right grow, because it's finally in that place. We've finally, just tipped into that where I want it to go and my dreams for it. So it's very exciting, actually. It's freaking cool to sit back and look at where it is. So I'm just excited to do that, really.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see it from the outside and everything that it comes to fruition and look like. That's so cool.
Thank you.
What are you looking forward to the most in the offline world?
I think just the new flexibility that this new role will give me. Work is a big part of my life. I love working. I can't not work. I've built this business around me and what I need for my mental health, for my family. So because we've just finally tipped into this lovely new area, it's just going to give me more time with my kids. It's going to give me more money. I'm looking forward to spending some more money. Like, I'm looking forward to being able to pick my kids up from school and not having to work in the evening. It's going to be nice. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. So if someone is listening to this episode and they want to grow their own online business, what is the one thing you recommend they do next?
Ooh. Figure out your values and figure out who you're talking to. So if you can nail those two things, you're going to start growing your business in a direction right from the very beginning that feels really good to you. And it means that when you're making those sales, it's not going to feel sleazy. It's not going to feel inauthentic. It's just going to feel real good. So know your values, know your plan for your business long term. That can change. That it's okay for that to change. Mine has. But get those two things down and then understand your audience as well. Understand who you're actually talking to.
Do you by chance have one of your freebies that are about that?
Yes, we do actually. We've got a target audience workbook, which you can download off our site for free, and it follows a lot of what we do for Frankly Right for our one-on-one strategy sessions, but it's a really easy workbook to work through, and it gives you a really good foundation for actually understanding what you need to know about your target audience, and then also what you need to know about how they talk and how you can relate to them with your messaging as well. So there's a link in our Instagram bio, but you can also find it on our website just off our homepage. There's a link there as well. You can just go download it, get it, and start building your business from the right place.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Digital Hive Podcast. I'm your host, Emma Peacock, and today our guest was Rachel Rennie of Frankly Right. To find out more about Brand Voice and Frankly Right's offering, head to franklyright.co.nz. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love it if you could share it with a friend or on Instagram and tag us at Honeypot Digital. To find out more about Honeypot Digital and the work we do, or to find more episodes of the podcast and handy tips for small businesses marketing online, head to honeypotdigital.com.